Hello, I'm Mayor Regina Bailey. Each month we feature a local notable nonprofit. In the following program, City Channel 4 producer Katie Roche will sit down with this month's selection for the Mayor's Monthly Notable Nonprofit.
In this episode of the Mayor's Monthly Notable Nonprofit, I'm extremely pleased to be here with Ron Clark and Jody Hovland to talk about the history of Riverside Theatre. So, Ron and Jody, how did Riverside Theatre come to be?
Well, we found ourselves in Iowa City after our graduate work, after we'd finished our MFA degrees here, like most of our colleagues, without work. They'd gone off to places like Seattle and New York to be out of work, but I went off to Seattle and was out of work there for a while. But no, I did a couple shows in Seattle and it was great. But we found ourselves back here. I'm a small town guy, and Jody, I think, is similarly inclined to live in a smaller community. And so we didn't have anything to do, so we got together with our pal Bruce Wheaton and said, let's start a theater. Here's a play we want to do. And it was a two-person play, and then Bruce could direct it, and we invented a name and set sail.
Wow.
As easy as that.
Figured how hard could it be?
Now,
Yeah, really.
so where did you do this play initially?
The first play was at the, may it rest in peace, the Old Armory on the University of Iowa campus. It was during Christmas holiday, so it was vacant, and the chair of the theater department allowed us to use it free of charge and said that we could only charge the university-approved student rate for tickets, which was $1.50. So our first admission price was $1.50, and when all was wrapped up, we had $100 left to put in the bank, open an account.
And that was the down payment for...
There we go, the down payment on the rest of our lives.
Yeah, we figured out this theater, this is a mint, man. We're going to just make money here. So we set off.
The play was The Exercise by Louis John Carlino. And it was a little psychodrama about two actors who meet for a rehearsal and have a personal history, and so it becomes a little complicated. And we had a great time.
We did. We
And then
did.
said, well, let's do another play.
So it came from this really grassroots start and a desire just to perform and...
Well, we needed something, we needed work, you know, and we were graduated, and so we didn't want to go back to the university, and we had different aspirations than we could probably fulfill at a community theater. We had a different approach and a different mission in mind. And so we thought, let's see if the community will support a small professional company that is dedicated to doing intimate work, which means mostly Ron and Jody and Bruce acting at that time. And for the first, 3 or 4 years, that's pretty much what it was we would do little shows, 2, 3 person shows, solo shows. And from Old Brick, we went out onto the playground out on the Ped Mall. We did a show there with Oil and Spiegel Puppet Theater. We did a combined show with them that was pretty zany.
That was so much fun. I've always had a fantasy about performing with Sesame Street puppets, you know.
You're on your way.
I know. Oh, we had a blast.
Yeah, and then we moved to Old Brick, and in 1983, we mounted a little play called Sea Marks, a little two-person play, beautiful little romance, and that was at Old Brick, and Bruce again directed, and just to kind of show you the longevity of some of these relationships, the man who is right now our props master for the Shakespeare Festival, his name's Steve Ross, and Steve was the stage manager of that play 25 years ago. Wow. So it's one of the joyful things about theater is that sometimes that community really is enduring. More often it's not, but sometimes you have those friendships that last forever.
So why do you think that Riverside has had this longevity? Because you really have seen a success over the years, and you've really been embraced by the community, by the city.
Well, I think that theater has to be about relationship both on stage and off stage, and I think that's the most important thing to both Ron and me, not only the relationship with our artists, but with the community. And we truly treasure each and every person that sits in a seat at one of our productions and are so honored, I think, to be part of this community and to be able to have crafted lives in the theater, in the professional theater, in a community like this. So I do think that that's been very important to us, and I think that people respond to that personal aspect of the organization.
The community is really what it's all about. I mean, I've discovered over the last few years, I don't know why I hadn't figured this out before, but when I'm not performing in a show, it's a really joyful thing for me to just come and just what we call getting the show started. Just come down, hang out for the half hour or so as patrons arrive, converse, have a cup of coffee, see what's on people's minds. And by doing that, I found that I've got a real constant source of one, of inspiration, but also just of a sensibility of and connection with our audience that's really important. It's unusual for a community this size to support an operation of this scale with what we believe to be high quality theater, but I think it's because the unique nature of the community, but also that we have worked very hard to cultivate a relationship that is steadfast in the community.
So one thing I think we haven't touched upon is really the number of years. So what year did this
Well, the
start?
company was founded in 1981 with the first production in 1982, January of '82, and we were reminded of this actually over the weekend when Bruce Wheaton's son, now 28, was married, and he was born during the January of that first production. So it was very moving to see this grown man who is sort of a metaphor for the longevity of the theater, you know, just to witness his marriage.
28 years, yeah.
28
Yeah.
years. And when did the idea for the Shakespearean Globe-esque theater
Oh, we've been
come to
cooking.
be?
Yeah, well, we've been cooking that for a long time because we successfully moved into this space in 1990 here at 213 North Gilbert, and we enjoyed the glow of that, you know, for several years. Finally having our own home because we've been at Old Brick for 10 years before we finally got nailed down into a dedicated space. But in the mid-90s, we started to think about it pretty seriously because we'd been going up to American Players Theater in Spring Green, Wisconsin for years.
Beautiful. I
Yeah,
love that
and
theater.
we're great fans of those folks and have stolen some of our best ideas from them. And they cheerfully have let us steal them. But I really loved outdoor theater, and we started looking at the possibilities and immediately realized, well, we'll never be able to own the land and a space of that scale. That's not going to happen. You know, real estate is too pricey here in our community. There's nobody waiting out in the wings to hand over, you know, 40 acres. We went to the city, and after we had located what we thought would be the ideal location down against the bluff in Lower City Park there, and we went to them with a watercolor rendering in 1998. I mean, that's all we had.
Well, we went to Terry Trueblood.
Yeah, which is very significant.
Yeah.
Terry Trueblood is an extraordinary administrator. We admire him deeply, and without his vision and ability to say yes and accept responsible levels of risk, there would be no festival. But we had this watercolor. We said, isn't this pretty? It's still hanging out in the lobby.
If you build it,
Yeah.
they will come.
I was just looking at that when we
Yeah.
came in.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Paul Sannerud, who is still designs for the festival, put that together with our blessing, and the city went for it. Said, okay. Now this was the '90s. This is when people had money. We need to remember this. You see, this was a very different time. The city said, yeah, that would be a great thing for our town, and went for it, and we got buy-in from all parts of the community, and it launched in 2000, which is moving at
So
lightning
this is
speed, really.
the 10th
Really?
year
Yeah.
of the festival, which
Right.
is just stunning to
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
So it's a very celebratory year to not only be returning to the park after last year's flood, but to have it be the 10th year. So,
And how is the stage faring after the flood?
You know, the stage
That's
and the
great.
buildings did really, really well. The stage is made out of recycled plastic planking, And so, I mean, it's there for the millennia. It's not